Hi folks, this is Vicki from patternprincess.com. Today I'm going to show you how to do the hat part of this really cute little ensemble. You may have already seen the little scarf. I made this all out of little cotton yarn. You get those little skeins of yarn like this, and sometimes you wonder what to do with them. Well, here's a cute little project. I used a skein of green and red, and I altered the colors. I did make some scarves that had the red and the green fringe, and they had red here, green, and then red on top. However, those have been given away, or some people had asked for them. They were family members, and so they're gone. So this is the only set that I have left. I'll have to make some more. They do work up really cute and quick. I'm going to show you how to do this pattern though in the regular size yarn, because if I use the smaller yarn that's this cotton yarn here, it's going to be very hard to see. What I did use though to do this is a 3.5 millimeter hook, so it's a very small hook, okay, very small hook, and the yarn itself is it's a very small yarn, probably, I don't know, 1 or 2. You can see here, it's not real thick. Like here's a Caron Simply Soft, and here's this yarn, so it's very small yarn, and it would be very hard, I think, for you to see. However, I will work the whole pattern in this other yarn here. Probably I have some blue and white here that hopefully that you can see the colors in here. But I'm going to give you a little trick, especially, well, anytime you have to, but especially when you're working with a smaller yarn. I'm going to start this off just so you can see why this trick would really come in handy. So I'm going to put my slip knot on my hook, and this hat on the bottom here, or I should say on the side here, it starts off with, I have to look, yes, 20 chains, and then I join it. And then I work in the round to make this. So can you imagine chaining 20 and joining it? I don't have that good of eyesight. So we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is probably enough. I'm going to stop for a second, take my yarn off my hook, put it back in that first little, that first little chain right here, put it back in there. Now, when I tried to do this without doing this little trick, I couldn't get this straight. I couldn't, unless I kept on having a twist. Unless you really want to twist in your hat, but I did not. So here what I was on 6, then we continue on 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is how my hat started. This is the very first part of it. And then guess what? You just pull it through here, and got to get this tail out of the way, and you are ready to start. It is not twisted. It's wonderful. You can now start your crochet pattern. It's just a really nice way to start, especially with a small yarn, but I actually use the same process anytime I'm making a cowl or anything that has to be joined, and then you're going to work in the round. It's just a really quick little trick. So I'm going to get my other yarn and my other hook size, and we're going to show you how to work the hat. In the comment section below, or in the description below, make sure you look, if you're looking for how to do the scarf, make sure you look in there. All of the written pattern for both of these is on my website. This hat I also used as a little garland. And what I did is a chain stitch with the green yarn, and as I wanted, I think I put them about 3-4 inches apart. I just did a little slip stitch near the top here into here with a green, and then I joined it and then continued on, and then I had my little garland of my little hats. So I'm going to show you how to work that hat, and we'll get going. Okay, I've done my chain 20, and now I'm going to bring that and slip it right through my initial chain stitch, get the tail out of the way, and now I'm all ready to work in the round here. And I'm using Caron Simply Soft White today, and this is a size H Odyssey hook. And I found that I've had to change my grip a little bit since I started using the Odyssey hooks, but I kind of like them. It helps a little bit with arthritis pain. So we're going to chain 3. I've done 2, 3. That counts as your first double crochet. Yarn over. Now we're going to do a double crochet in each stitch. And what I did is, instead of putting my yarn up here, I actually put it just below these 2 loops and put it so you just have one of the loops showing on the bottom. And so I'm going to do a double crochet in each one all the way around. And like I said, that first chain 3 does count as a double crochet. There we go, another one. And sometimes you just got to work it in there, but it'll be fine once you get them all done. And sometimes they look a little stretchy, but by the time that you get to the next stitch, then that'll stretch it out. So that's okay, it all works out. So I'm going to continue going in around, and when I get to the other side, you see what I'm doing here. When I get to the other side of this here, I will do a slip stitch into the top chain of the initial chain 3. But I'm just going to keep going, and all you need to do is do a double crochet in each stitch, and I will meet you right back over here. Okay, so I'm just going to near the end here. I've got a double crochet in each one. This was my initial chain 3. So, and make sure you get all your stitches done here. And you can tell that right here is where your chain 3 gets kind of pulled over, but now you're going to close that loop up by putting your hook through here and just doing a slip stitch. See, that's all nice and closed up. So the next round we're going to do alternations between front post and back post double crochet. It doesn't matter if you start with the back post or the front post or which one you start with, as long as you just alternate which one you're doing. And we also start with a chain 2, which does count as your first stitch. And that's I'm going to do that again because it's a little bit loose. It does count as your first stitch. Normally when we do the double crochet, we do a chain 3 because that's how tall it is. But when you do the front post and back post double crochet, it's a little bit shorter. You lose some height because you're working around the posts. So we just do a chain 2, okay? So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go behind this post, get yarn, bring it through, go through 2 loops and 2 loops. There's my first stitch. Now I'm going to yarn over, and now I'm going to go around and go around the next post and get that. So we're going to alternate, go through 2 loops and 2 loops. So the next one we're going to go this way. There we go. And the next one we're going to go from behind. See this? So I'm just going to alternate all the way around until I join with a slip stitch at the top of that chain 2. So I'm going to quickly do this. You see how that just kind of, whoops, and I got to make sure I catch all my yarns. And it doesn't take long. And it will be all the way around. And it's kind of a nice pattern too when you're working with that small yarn, that small cotton yarn, because once you kind of get your first initial rows here, it becomes quite easy to complete the hat. The hardest rows, I thought, were the first couple rows. After that, it was pretty easy. And of course, then figuring out the tassel on top was a challenge, because I tried to make a pom-pom and I couldn't, because when you try and make a pom-pom with only like 1-inch little yarn sticking out, they stick out to the sides. So that was kind of funny, because I was going to use a fork and try and do it and then bring my yarn around the little yarn pieces. Well, there must be some trick that I don't know, because that didn't work. And then we only got a couple more here. Sometimes it's hard to make sure you don't grab other yarn. But it's okay. Here we're almost done. Now you can tell, remember we started with that initial chain 2? Right here is our initial chain 2. So I'm going to go right in. I'm going to go right into the top, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. And then that's going to complete our round, okay? So now I'm going to get more yarn here, and I'm going to continue on and show you how to do the next row. Okay, so for this next one, we're going to do the same front post and back post double crochet. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Again, that counts as our first one. Now, however we worked the last row, we're going to work this around, I should say round, the same way. So this one here, because we went behind the post and in front of the other post, we're going to do that same thing because it's going to elongate that ribbing effect. Okay, see how that's going to look? And then here, and don't go under here, that's too far. We want to make sure that we go here. See right there. Just underneath your top stitching, but you want to grab that post. Yarn over, bring it through. Go through 2 loops and 2 loops. We're going to do it again on the other side now. See right here, you don't go down here, you go right here. Just underneath your top stitching. There you go. And then we're going to continue to alternate the same way that we alternated the last time, because that just elongates that rib and it's really pretty. There we go. So I'm going to continue to do this all the way around, and then I'm going to join it with a slip stitch, and then I will show you how to do the next row. Okay, we have this little brim here done. This is quite a bit bigger in my white, but that's okay. This is the part here. We are done with this part. We're going to move on. I'm going to change color. I'm going to change color to this light blue. I'm actually, as I'm going to be putting this together here, I'm starting to think how cute this one that I'm doing now as a sample would look as like a Christmas little blue and white themed Christmas color for your tree. If you had like a tree decoration or a decoration somewhere else, I think that's really going to be a cute combination. So I might make some more of those. But anyway, so we're done with this. We're moving on to this part here. Okay, so I'm going to switch my color. And we're moving on. I've done my slip stitch in this right here. But instead of working this way, I'm actually kind of turning it now. I'm going to work this way. Instead of, I kept working on the inside of it looking this way here, I'm going to start working from the outside. So I'm going to join my next color. And I don't do anything fancy to join after a little bit, because these are not going to be, you know, washed like a normal blanket or something would be. I don't worry about too much weaving in. I'm going to weave in a little bit back and forth 4 or 5 times, but it'll be fine on both colors here. So we're going to chain 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to yarn over and just do, so this here counts as the first stitch. So right here is your stitch, and you can see your stitches on the top. If you look at your little loops, you can see the stitches. We're going to actually work in the stitches, not the posts. We're done working in those posts now. So I got yarned over. I'm going to go into the very first one. There we go. Yarn over, and the next one. And now I'm going to work around like this and do this blue double crochet in every single stitch I have all the way around, and then I'm going to join it to the top chain of the initial chain 3. Whoop, I missed a yarn. I do like this Caron Simply Soft. It is very nice and soft. The only thing I don't like once in a while is that you do the chain, or I should say the yarn itself will kind of split, and you do kind of miss a little bit of the yarn every once in a while, and you got to make sure you watch that. See, there's another one. But I do think it's pretty. I have to maybe try some other brands that maybe won't do that quite so much. Okay, I'm just about done here. And I'm crocheting over that tail of the blue. I'm going to still weave it in over here a little bit. I'll catch the white in this one. And then we have our very last one here. We'll get right back into here and slip stitch. And this round is done. Now we're going to repeat this round. So we're going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then on each stitch around, we're going to do another, oops, I've got to catch both loops. We're going to do another double crochet stitch just in each loop. Can't talk today. And then the next round, we're going to start to decrease because we have to close up the hat. And so this is really just a miniature version of how you could make a hat for a person. that you would use, because you'd want to close it up as well on top with a pom-pom. So I'm going to continue working on this and get this all the way around and join it, and then we'll start to show you how I'm going to start to decrease in the next row, and I will join you on the other side. Okay, we have 5 rows done already. This whole hat is going to be 9 rows long. So right now we are up to this point right here. This point right here on this hat. Okay, we have our ribs down here, and then we have 2 rows of the double crochet, and that's what we have here. So here we're going to start to decrease. We have a couple decreasing rows, and so you can see the rest of it's going to go really, really fast because we're looking to close this up now. So, okay, so we're going to show you now how to work row 6. So how we do the double crochet 2 together is going to be these 2. We're going to start with our chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, and then insert your hook like you would for the normal double crochet. Bring the yarn through, bring the yarn, grab the yarn, bring it through 2 loops, and then just hold. Yarn over, go through the next one, 2 loops, yarn over, bring it through, yarn over, go through 2 loops. Now we have 3 loops. So we have, this is a loop from our initial double, it would normally be a double crochet here. Then we have a double crochet half done and another one half done. So we have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to bring our yarn through all 3 loops. Now we've just done a double crochet 2 together. The next stitch is a regular double crochet. And now we're going to repeat the double crochet 2 together. So we go, put it underneath, bring it through 2 loops, yarn over, go to the next, yarn over, bring it through 2 loops. We have our 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, bring it through all 3 loops. Then the next one is a double crochet. So we are alternating between it, so we're slowly going to be closing it up, right? So we're alternating between our 2 double crochet together and then our double crochet. So the next ones are 2 double crochet together again. And then we go through all 3 loops, yarn over, double crochet, yarn over, double crochet 2 together, and then yarn over, double crochet, whoopsies, yarn over 2 together, 2 double crochets together, all 3 loops. We're almost there. It starts to get kind of small in your hands as you're working on it, and so these little ones, I was actually kind of starting to hold them on the outside because you start to have no place for your fingers to go. And then a double crochet 2 together. And then where am I? Got to see. Yep, this was the initial chain. So now I have to do a slip stitch into the top stitch. Let me get in there. I want to go through both loops. It's not wanting to go. Just took me a minute to get it. And there we go, a slip stitch. Okay, so this row is done, and now it's starting to get, you can see that it's starting to get quite snug already. It's getting smaller, okay? So our next row 5, or I should say our next row 7, we're going to repeat what we just did. So this is where I said it kind of gets hard to hold. So you might want to kind of just, I'll show you kind of how I held it. Let me make sure I have enough yarn here. So we do our chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn over. Now we're going to do 2 double crochet together again. So I kind of have it like, I don't have my fingers anymore in it. It's kind of like just holding it together flat on the other side. And eventually I want to be able to do that. And then I got to go through all 3 loops. Yarn over, double crochet on the next one because I want to gradually, otherwise I'd have a really steep peak, and I think that they're already like peaked enough up here, but I wanted to kind of keep them full a little bit as they were getting closed up. And so I'm going to have to move this a little bit. So I just did my double crochet. Now it's 2 together again. So yarn over, and then yarn over through 2 loops, and then go through all 3 loops, yarn over, double crochet, and then we got to kind of move this again so we can hold it. Yarn over, come on, it gets a little bit difficult. Here we go, and then another one, and then all 3, and then a double crochet, I caught a yarn. Okay, so now I think, where are we here? Yep, I'm going to do a double crochet here because we're at the end, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch here into this top one here. So now we're getting really teeny tiny, but I'm going to go one more time. So on the little ones here, on these little ones, I had to go 9 rows to get this to, I just kind of continued to do what I've been doing for making it smaller until I got to the end, until I could finally close it right back up. Now, this is probably already to the point where you could just weave back and forth and you could have this closed. So when I got to the very end and I was in the very last one, you just kind of weave in the ends. But you could, right now, we could just do like a single crochet, yarn over, and then bring it through. I'm just going to do a yarn over, or I should say a single crochet, 2 together. We'll do a single crochet here, so on this row here, we're going to do a chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So a single crochet, we put yarn over and go through, yarn over, go through, and go through all 3 loops. Then here I'm going to single crochet, and then I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together again. 1, 2, and then through all 3, and then a single crochet, and I'm going to call it done right here. And I think I grabbed yarn from the other side. Hang on. There we go. There we go. Now I got it. Just had to make sure here. And bring your yarn through, and I'm just going to bring it through with a slip stitch. And we're going to call this one done. And now I'm going to show you how I did the ball on the top of the head. So I bring my yarn, I'm going to bring my yarn all the way out and through. So this is just a larger version now. Isn't that cute? This is just a larger version of this hat. This hat can teeny tiny can fit inside of it, but isn't that cute? This would even be a pretty, it's a little bit bigger garland if you use it as a garland. I guess we could use it as this normal. This is like regular size yarn. It's a little bit big as a wine topper, but it would work. It would certainly work. If this is all you had for yarn, you had some yarn scraps to use up, that would be pretty. It would certainly work. I wouldn't say no to that. So let's work on this little bitty top here, and I can show you how I did that little top. So we're going to work on this little top right here, this little ball. And what I did is I chained 7. And then we're just going to work right into the top stitch here, and not the very first stitch away from the hook, but the next stitch. And we're going to do a single crochet there and all the way across. Whoop. There we go. then the last little stitch. And what we're going to do is just like we did our other scarf for this little ensemble, we're going to chain 1 and go into the first stitch, and then each stitch across do another single crochet. And I'm going to do 5 total rows of this. So this is ready, row 2. So I have 3 more rows to go. And I'm hoping that this larger size yarn will create a circle the same way that the small yarn did. So we're going to see how this looks. I have no idea how it's going to look with this bigger yarn here. So there's my second row, and I'll get going here and get my rest of my rows, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so I've done my 5 rows, and I pulled my yarn through the last stitches here. I have my tapestry needle threaded with my yarn. I have quite a long tail. I'd rather have way too much than not enough. So now I'm just gonna I don't go through the yarn pieces itself. I go into the open stitches, okay? So because I'm gonna pull and gather this. So I'm just kind of like weaving it in those open spots. Do you see that? And your little square here doesn't have to be perfect. Do not worry about that. And I left a little bit of tail here because I'm going to weave that in. So I'm not pulling it too tight yet, and I'm just going to weave through. See those little open stitches there? You see where I'm weaving it through? And just pulling a little bit. And then we're going to weave through, just capturing your edges. And then again up here, and making sure I'm not trying to not go through the yarn pieces itself, because I want this to be able to gather. And then we'll put it here because I think I started over there. So I think I've gone through all 4 corners now, or 4 edges. So I'm going to pull this, kind of pull it around my finger. You see how it's starting to go into a little circle? Isn't that cute? Okay, keep pulling it, keep pulling it. Now that's a circle. On top, it's a little ball. But now it's kind of country rustic. If you look at, I mean, this is not a perfect sphere by any means. But, you know, you can tell it's a little tassel. And so it looks like a little country rustic kind of a tassel. We're going to call it that anyway. So I'm going to tuck this little yarn piece in because I have not had a chance to weave it in. But this top part here I would weave in. I'm just using a little hook to pull this in. Just going to pull that right inside so it'll look prettier with our tassel on. So I will weave all my little yarn ends in here. So what we're going to do is you kind of line up about where you kind of think this is going to go, and you are going to have to come on both sides of it. If you don't, your tassel is going to be lopsided. So I'm going to go inside, making sure that your needle just goes straight down. So my fingers are in there catching it, because you don't want to catch the sides of the hat or something, because then you'll pull that in. And don't worry about this other end for now. We're going to catch that a little bit. So now, gotta see how that's going to lay. So I'm probably going to want to come up about on this side. So we're going to, because you kind of have to go on both sides of it. There we go. See how it's a little bit on each side. We're going to go up. There we go. And I know I caught a yarn piece on, there we go, on the side up. So we have to now go through our little ball that we made. And then it's almost like sewing on buttons. You got to grab a little piece and you got to go back down. And we'll do this a couple times around this little ball on top until we get it all secured and in. I'm going to hold this a second. There we go. It's starting to look better. So now I'm going to go back in. I'll go back in right there. And again, I'm going to let my fingers inside here guide the needle so I'm not catching the other sides of the hat where I don't want. And I might, I think I went down too far. I'm going to pull this out because I'm going to be able to see that white. I don't think that this is going to lay down flat enough to cover that up. So I'm going to take this out. You see what I mean? I think my stitch needs to be up higher because I want my little ball to cover it up. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. Take my fingers, get them under there. There we go. We're going to go right straight under it. A little bit closer. And that's just our yarn piece hanging out, which is annoying right now. Okay. How are we looking? Is it looking secure? Probably one over here. And then when I bring this one in over here, that's going to help secure that, but I still need to secure this over here. You see that? So I'm going to go back up. Right there. That's a good spot. And I can tell that I caught this yarn when I went up. And then I'm going to go right here. I keep catching that blue yarn. And then we'll go back down very close to it so we can hide it. And then I'm going to come up and do that last side. And then I'm going to weave in this little piece here and then the other yarns, and we will be done with this little bitty hat. So I'm going to come up on the other side now. Right here. Grab this. I think we're going to go this way because it'll be a little bit more secure. And then we're going to go back down. And I did catch my little yarns here, so when I weave them in, I'll have to get that. I'll have to fix that. There. Now it's secure. And I can see this is going to be a little bit lopsided. There we go. Well, I'm going to futz with this and fix it, but you get the idea. Here it is. Now it's looking nice. And I got to weave this in yet too. So here we have our nice little cute little hat. But that's how you do these. This is, and I did kind of have to mess with them. And sometimes I actually went in with another piece of yarn and I had a futz with how they were laying. But it didn't take too long. Each hat was quite quick to make once I got going. And but now you can make a regular size, full size hat too if you'd wish. But thank you for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.